Hey all, so today's video is focused exclusively on playing with your bare hands. I've had several requests to do a video like this, so it's about time that I get to it. I haven't really thought this one out very much. I haven't planned it. This is kind of a spontaneous demo, but let's start with looking at the different ways of hitting drum set with your bare hands. There's a lot of different sounds you get depending on how much you mute the head and how you strike the drum with your bare hands. So for example, thinking about John Bonham's way of playing with his hands, you can see from the videos that he would often play a lot of finger work on the edge of the drum at the rim, kind of like this type thing. And also burying his fist to get different tones to adjust the tension. Now, there are dead strokes, which are this kind of thing, and then there are open tone strokes like this. So you get a different sound even while muting, depending on whether you slap the head and come back, or you slap and stop. You also get a different tone depending on how you position your left hand with the knuckles burying into the drum but still allowing it to ring like this, or rotating your hand down with the palm touching the skin as well, and then you get a much more muted sound. Also, you get some really cool sounds when playing with your hands by playing right on the edge of the drum with either one finger or two. You can use a mix, 3 fingers, 2 fingers, and then down to 1 finger you get a much more pointed sound. And what I do is I cup my hand sort of in like a C shape, like this. And as I pull in to the edge, it increases the pitch. That's something that the great drummer Joe Jones, also known as Papa Joe Jones. Joe Jones likely influenced the other drummers who came after him in playing with their bare hands. Now, the way Bonzo played with his hands was very dynamic. He used a lot of sort of quick, dynamic accents that were very dramatic. For example, he would be playing very softly on the snare drum and then make like an explosive comment or accent with the toms or the bass drum like this. So for instance, right there, those are just triplets he's playing. And in striking the toms, generally I strike with my fingers. I don't really use all of my hand because first of all, there's too much force when you're using your entire hand. You can knock your tom mount out of whack. It's just, you get more tone also by slapping with the fingers than you would if you hit with the palms. So again, that's this part of the hand right here, of the fingers. He would also often play doubles on those accents, like this. And sometimes just triplets. Another thing that he would often do is play with the back of his hand, which I've seen other drummers do as well, using the knuckles. And that way you get a hard sound from the knuckles, the bone hitting the skin. Uh-oh. That's what I get for not tensioning my floor tom leg enough. So that's actually one important thing when you're playing with your hands. You have to make sure everything is really set. Like, for example, the snare drum stand creeps a lot when you play with your bare hands because it's bouncing up and down and it just sort of wanders around. Same with the floor tom. I have another. This is an old Ludwig stand similar to the type Bonham used. It's an Atlas snare stand, but I have an old sonar stand that has the pointed feet. It has the sharpened points, so once it's set, it really doesn't wander around at all. But in Bonzo's case, he had a wood platform that the drums were set on, and there were little holes drilled for the spurs, for the hi-hat legs, for the snare legs, for the floor tom legs, so that nothing was going to move. Once it was in place, the feet were inserted into these little cutaways in this wood platform. But in my case, often when I'm playing with my bare hands, the snare drum's wandering around if I don't have that stand with the needle type feet. Anyway, getting back to the technique, you can see in the Royal Albert Hall footage, he's playing quite fast with his hands, and he's playing these quick accents on the toms where he flips his hand over and makes the accents with the back of his hands, like this. So that's what that accent is. Now hitting the cymbals, I got to tighten this thing down even more. Hitting the cymbals can be a very painful, frustrating move because unless you hit it just right, you might not get much volume out of it, and in the meantime you're going to bruise up, these muscles here in your fingers. Because generally, when I hit the cymbals, I'm hitting them right about here. If I hit with too much of the palm, I'm not going to get much sound. Almost no sound. So you have to hit with, some bone making contact with the cymbal. This brings into question, like, how good is this for you in terms of your physical, health playing with your bare hands? I would say that, I don't do it that often, so I don't feel like it's that much of an issue, but I wonder if a drummer like Bonham, who played with his bare hands a good amount of the time, on many shows, eventually would have had some issues, either arthritis or some kind of issues, joint pain, because it does take a toll on your hands. So when I hit the cymbal, for example, I try to hit it as quick as possible and get the crash sound without, playing into it so much. So it's a shorter stroke like this. So it's a very fast hit. Now that generally doesn't hurt because I'm hitting with this meaty part here. But if I hit with my fingertips, they will get black and blue. So I try to avoid, but in the heat of the moment when you're soloing and you're actually on a gig, you can't always hit everything exactly how you intend. Same thing with the rim shots. Often I'll end up with like some bruises here. So I try to Try to get it as much as possible in this area. Now, as far as actual ideas and phrasing, you know, a lot of it is similar to, I guess, you know, Latin American music, like conga playing, bongo playing. Now you'll notice that when I slap with this part of the hand, I get a nice slap, almost like a conga slap. As opposed to letting the drum ring out. One thing I see Bonzo do often is he will hit this way, which I find that very painful and uncomfortable to do. I mean, I will do it once in a while, especially when the snares are on. I like this sound. It's almost like bunch sticks, you know, you're getting like 3 or 4 hits together. But you got to be careful with this one, because I've done it where I've hit like a karate chop and really, you know, messed up my pinky for a while, where I had some pain. So another technique is to use knuckles flat on the drum like this. These are all different sounds that Bonzo would get using different parts of his hand. So you've got, you know, this sound. You've got this. This open. And then closed. Okay, it's wandering around on me. That's, you know, the hi-hat on the downbeats, bass drum doubles. You hear the difference between that tone of this out. I just thought of this right now. Poor Tom with the bare hands. So I hope that's helpful to some of you. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to see what they are. It's not too much out there on playing with the bare hands on a drum set, so hopefully this video is of some value. Thanks for watching as always. Peace.